I just want to make a real quick video on this particular unit. This is a private label deal. I think this is made by PEL for Kencove back in the day. It's called a Kencove 10. It's a pretty potent unit. It's physically large. Look how physically big that charger is. So what we got it going again. It had two things wrong with it. It had something wrong with the main board. We had to repair the board a little bit, and then it started working, but it was putting out very low voltage, and the we thought it was the transformer because it's putting like 1.2 kV at the terminals. So we disconnected the transformer output, or one leg of it, tested we're getting like 7,000 volts, or 8,000, whatever it was, 7 or 8,000 volts, whatever it was. Okay, well the transformer's putting out right. So I thought about just hardwiring the transformer, but it's got a weird winding setup on there, so I really couldn't do that without really trying to figure that out. It was going to be pain. So we took the output board out. It looked good, but there's a whole bunch of diodes and a whole bunch of little protection pieces all over the board as well for lightning protection, and every single one of the diodes was blown. They looked fine, but they all tested bad. And there was about 40 of them, so we had to desolder every one of them, solder a whole bunch of new ones in, and then there's probably about 20 or so of those little protection pieces. We had to desolder all those, solder new ones of those on. I think everything else is fine, so put it back in there, and the way it went. Now we're getting about 6 or 7, between 6 and 7,000 volts with that output board installed. So we'll put a fence tester across here. I don't know how old this unit is. It's got some age on it though, because it's been repaired 1, 2, 3, at least 3 times. Well, actually 1, 2, 3, at least 4 times. This is probably I would have to guess, an 80s, 90s model unit. See, we're getting about 6.5 kV out of the thing, which is plenty. And this thing throws a pretty hefty shock from it. I'll see if I can. It's got a full power and half power terminal here. I'm just going to go across ground, close to the fence. Trying to do it one-handed. It's hard to do it trying to use the camera in one hand and a pair of needles in the other and trying to see where I'm filming and stuff at the same time. But so if you got an old fence charger like this, I can't remember the PEL model off the top of my head, but it was a PEL something or other. It had red stickers all over it, but this is an old Kencove label one. You can see it's down there, designed and built specifically for Kencove farm fence by PEL Industries in Auckland, New Zealand. And PEL's still around. They're not their own brand anymore. They got bought out by True Test years ago, and now PEL's still around as a brand only, but it's over in Europe now, and it's basically a blue case SpeedRite. You know, instead of SpeedRite being red, it's got a blue PEL case on it. So, but these were good old school units. I mean, this thing is large and in charge for sure. But I'm not going to take it apart because it was such a pain. I had to put new screws to the case. I had to strap the transformer down a different way. The plastic on the inside is very brittle, and there's still some good plastic in it still, but there's a lot of brittle pieces on there. If I take it apart, I really don't want to risk of things breaking. But it took us about an hour and a half or more to get it apart, figure it out, fix it, and try to get the thing back together correctly with everything. It was just putting it, once we got it fixed, putting it back together, strapping the transformer in place, because the transformer screws that hold the transformer, the little studs it sits on, were all busted out. So I started putting it back together, and the transformer just sliding. The transformer it's about that long. It's a great big block of a transformer. It's probably about that big. Sits inside there, and it's very heavy. And I was like, how am I going to strap this thing in place? So we took some of this kind of metal strapping material. I think they use it for like air duct work and stuff like that. And I made pieces long, and I put it across there and pulled it tight, drilled holes, ran bolts through it, and tightened it down that way. Did it across there, I think 2 different spots, about basically like that. So that way, it's kind of center it, hold it where we wanted it, and now it ain't gonna move unless someone takes those screws out of there. So and the bolts loose and everything. So, but I'm not gonna bother taking it apart. If you wanted to see it, sorry, I'm not doing it. So, but this is just a real quick deal about it. If you got an old fence starter like to send to us for repair, there's information right there. Our links down in the description below. You can click on, take you to our websites. But fencerfixer.com is our website. And until next time, we'll see you later on.